All right, what's going on, guys? Let me know if everything's good with the audio. Audio good? If you guys can hear me all right. Audio check. All right, perfect. So yeah, guys. Let me do this actually because there's like a contract adjustment. I don't know why this always does this. All right. So NQ, to be honest, well, let me talk about first of all before I talked about indices because I think indices the move already happened, right? Like my play on this one was pretty simple. Weekly EBP. Talked about it towards the end of the video that I want to see some sort of confirmation. I do have the recording of this NQ trade that I took yesterday, so I'll put that. I'll try to upload that sometime today. But I mean, look at this move. I mean, beautiful weekly EBP. You even get a 4-hour EBP that forms. I mean, guys, like if you ever want to focus on a model, focus on EBP systems. Like, because I know sometimes people always tell me, like, oh, I don't get that many opportunities if you're looking at the daily and the weekly. Who cares? When the weekly and the daily do provide an opportunity, okay, that's, that's, you could trade it on those specific weeks. But even this 4-hour EBP, look at the next candle. Open, there's a rally inside of this 4-hour bar, and then you just have to work on your entries. That's it. But if you have an EBP on the 4-hour with a clear bias, and again, the bias doesn't have to be an EBP candle. A bias could be basic structure. A bias could be a daily fair value gap that the market is heading towards, right? There's so many different ways to kind of tackle this. So let me actually talk about what I'm watching for on gold. Gold is actually like I'm really interested, and if you guys are watching the daily time frame, you can probably already see why I'm interested in this. So number one, as I always talk about, let me just change this to the 1 hour. It just sucks because I hate when this happens when we just get a huge move with no pullbacks. Even on the 4-hour, it's literally just one 4-hour candle right now that's just having a massive move. And there, obviously, I'm not going to buy this. Obviously, I'm not shorting this right now. But what I am watching is on this daily candle, we are forming a beautiful daily EBP. So this is probably not going to set up for me today, but it is something I'm watching for. Now we also have these equal highs. That's relative equal highs in here, right? So we have this high and then this high that's lower. And if we go to the weekly time frame, we have that. It's essentially last week's high that we're going to look to target. I'm very excited about this one because we have something called a distribution candle. A distribution candle is very simple. It's when we have a closure above the prior bar high. So whenever we have a strong bullish candle like this that closes above the prior bar high, what happens is that candle bar's high is now going to be a new liquidity pool. Now, this is going to be part of the candlestick series I'm going to be dropping on my main YouTube channel, but this is something I've been trading fairly recent. Beautiful retest of the prior bar's high. A lot of stock traders use this as well. That's kind of where I got it from. If you guys know Lance Brightstein, he talks about closures above prior bar highs. Like I got it from him. Again, Lance Brightstein. Beautiful retest, right? And now we're getting the confirmation on the 4-hour time frame. And now we're also getting the confirmation on what? The daily time frame. Because now we're forming a beautiful daily EBP. So this one's gonna be my main focus going into tomorrow. Again, I'm gonna wait for the EBP closure. If it rips through the highs, there's nothing I can do about that, right? Because sometimes that will happen. Like something is setting up and then maybe just rips today and this candle just closes all the way here. So I am watching it for last week's high and then possibly new all-time highs. Now, before the all-time highs get hit, if you guys have been following me for any length of time, I always like to target the rejection block. The rejection block is just the bodies of the candles of the highest point. So that is going to be right there, right? That body, which is 4408, is going to be my target on the upside if we can get above this high. So on the 4-hour time frame, what I would like to see honestly is maybe like an inside bar. So maybe like a little bit of a doji candle, maybe a fair value gap, which it would start to form. And then we would look for the daily EBP closure. And then this would be textbook. And then I'll just look for an intraday buy somewhere in here to target again the prior week high and then to target that 4408. So gold is my main objective going into tomorrow as long as we close as the EBP candle. Again, if this one just rips without me, that's fine. I'm watching it more so for tomorrow. Let's go ahead and let's go over indices. So indices again. Now I'm sidelined. So many people. Again, the weekly EBP low was my objective. We had a beautiful rally up first, and then we have the drop lower. If we watch ES, it's the same exact thing that we talked about yesterday. And now it's like, all right, do I, because most people, what happens is this, if they miss this move, they start to like, oh, well, should I buy now? To be honest, I don't see a setup now. So like for me again, for me personally, on an intraday basis, like the fact that we already hit the EBP candle bars low and we hit the imbalance point, I am now currently sidelined on this for any intraday moves. Now, this was a nice little 4-hour EBP, but it didn't really go down into any fair value gap, unfortunately. So the EBP candle closed at 6. There was a little bit of a fair value gap that was here. We didn't trade into it on the next candle, and then we kind of like rallied above Asia range high. So let me go ahead. Yeah, let me just show you guys the Asia range high. We took out Asia range high, and then we formed a 1-hour bearish EBP. So now it's kind of like in the middle, right? We have a bearish candle and we have a bullish candle in here. Market is kind of trading in the middle. I don't like to trade in those situations because we've already tapped into a key higher time frame level based off the bullish on the daily time frame on the bullish side, and then we took out the Asia range high, which is a significant liquidity pool. So now for me, there's no like edge in the marketplace. Again, maybe during the PM, so maybe like later on as the market opens in 4 minutes, we'll see something. But in my opinion, like the play was the prior week low. The prior week low on ES, there was a beautiful sell-off in Asia. What candle is this right here at the Asia Open? Beautiful hourly EBP forming. We still have the prior week low on ES. I actually took this short overnight. I'm up actually on my top step accounts. Let me show you guys. So on my top step accounts up $914. The balance is now at $15.80. I'm trying to build this buffer as much as possible. So pretty happy about that. Again, all I'm doing is just looking for quick scalps. I'm not looking for anything super crazy. Even though this was a pretty big move overnight, but yeah. Now the market's kind of just trading inside these ranges. So again, I'm not really sure what the market wants to do. If I had to guess, to be honest, I think it'd probably be a little bit. I think there's still more downside, to be honest. But again, now we're below prior week low, so I'm not comfortable taking any sell positions, especially because we already formed this 4-hour EBP on the bullish side. We did take out liquidity to the upside, so now that might send price lower. But I'm just not as confident as I was. For me, like my play again, I'm really just focusing on gold. If we close as a strong bullish EBP candle like this with a 4-hour fair value gap, that's going to be the play for me personally. And let me go through any questions you guys have as well. Yeah, exactly, Sandeep. Yeah, so my focus is going to be on gold because again, like ES might form something like maybe going into the PM session, maybe after market open. But as currently constructed, I just don't want to take any sell positions, even though I'm leaning more towards the sell side. Only because again, like the weekly EBP doesn't just mean we take out the weekly candle bars low. We might come down into that daily fair value gap. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We already hit that fair value gap. So yeah, that's what I mean. Like I don't have a very clean target. Maybe the opening price right here, which is going to be that 68.23, that opening price essentially of this order block. So the last swing low, swing high, the opening price could be the next objective. Again, I'm leaning more towards the bearish side only because of the weekly EBP. But again, maybe this fair value gap down there around 68.12. But we'll see. How do I deal with the intraday drawdown? So Alex, specifically speaking with Top Step, right? I'm going to make a whole series about this because now I'm getting acclimated to the futures props. If you guys have been trading CFD props, because obviously I know a lot of my following originally, we were all in the CFD space. I'll tell you guys this, it's much better to transition over now that most firms don't have a consistency rule on the funded at least. And the reason being is because you can pay less money and you essentially have the same amount of earning potential, especially because CFD props nowadays have 1% risk limits per trade. That to me is like, that's not like something I personally prefer. Now, how do I deal with the trailing drawdown? You have to go for base hits. You can't really go. This is the thing. So the way that Top Step works specifically, and where's the drawing marker? Okay, yeah. The way that Top Step works is, and every firm is going to be different, but for Top Step, the trailing drawdown is only end of day. Meaning, if let's just say on the 50K accounts, I can only lose up to $2,000 on the account once I'm funded, right? And even once in the evaluation, I have $2,000 worth of drawdown. But let's just say on day one, I make $500. right? They want to make $500. For those of you guys that aren't like familiar with props, these futures props, they have end of day drawdown, meaning if I'm up 500 bucks, right, and my account balance now on Top Step, they start you at $0 balance, right? So you cannot go below minus 2,000. If I'm up plus 500 going into the new day, the trailing drawdown goes up to now I can't go, my account balance cannot go below minus 1,500 bucks. However, this stops once you make $2,000. So if I make 2,100 bucks, it's $2,000 plus 100 bucks. So if I make $2,100, the trailing drawdown stops. So now if I run my account up to $10,000 in profit, I have all that buffer and there's no daily drawdown. Now, most traders in the future space, they struggle getting to that, to the part where they can build a buffer. The way that you do it, specifically with Top Step, is this. What sometimes I'll do, and again, it depends on your risk tolerance. If I'm up, because the drawdown only trails at the end of the day. If I'm up, let's just say $300 in Asia session, and then I see a setup in New York, I'm risking the full amount. Because again, the drawdown is only going to be at the end of the day. So I had that $300 to play with. Now, if I don't see a good setup in New York, I'm not going to risk the money, right? Like I have to have that buffer and I have to have a really good setup in order for me to be comfortable trading that. So that's how I pretty much approach it. But I'm also going for base hits. Some people, they full port because if they have $2,000 worth of drawdown, what some people do on day one is they'll risk $1,000 on the trade. And if they get like a 2R, boom, the buffer is already met. That's going to be up to each individual person. I'm personally, I don't want to do that because, I don't want to like have to take the evaluation again. But if you guys want, let me know in the comments. I mean, if you guys in the chat, if you guys want me to make any videos on futures props. Yeah, Top Step doesn't work. To be honest, there's a bunch of other firms as well. So Top Step is just one of them. I personally like them because they've been around the longest. And to be honest, I do like the Project X platform, even though it does freeze a little bit. But there are other futures firms like Fundednext Futures. I'm actually going to do a documentary, not documentary, I'm going to do like a series with Fundednext Futures. Yeah, so I'll make a breakdown on this for this specific channel, and then we'll kind of go for it on there as well. But yeah. Okay, what's your views on UJ? Yeah, so Dalian, we actually talked about this one yesterday. So remember, I said like this inverse fair value gap was kind of what I'm watching for. Beautiful rejection here, even though like this kind of happened after we already took out the lows. But I do think, and I talked about this in a prior video, I do think we're going to head a lot lower on dollar yen. I want to see if we can get down to this fair value gap on the monthly time frame. Now, when we go down to the weekly now we're kind of inversing. And the thing is this, if we invert this fair value gap and we close below this candle bar's low, think about what I just talked about in terms of like the distribution candle. Closure below this candle bar's low and then inversion of this fair value gap leads us down to these downside objectives. Now, what I always do is I'll also mark out, like let's just say the other liquidity pools are on the way down. So we have this low in here, but we also have the rejection block. Again, like what I talked about in gold, right? The bodies of the candles typically where I'll have a level just in case. Because sometimes what happens, if you guys have noticed, if you target like equal highs or equal lows, sometimes the market hits the rejection block and then we have a retracement. So that's why I usually mark out both levels, the low and then that. And there's just near-term objectives. So if we close below here, below here, and I know that this candle's still going to be like another, like, because the week just started, but if we invert this, then this looks like we're going to just head lower. Now, obviously, because it's still the beginning of the week, we could theoretically just stay below. And honestly, this looks heavy. So I would target these downside targets on dollar yen. It's also what I'm watching for. There was a nice little bit of a fair value gap retest in there. There was one in here from last night. I think as long as we maintain below this overall structure, I do think we're going to head a little bit lower on dollar yen. Can you use EBP on crypto? Yes. So I don't know if you attended the live session a couple days ago. Someone asked me my thoughts on crypto, and I said I would not, because they want to go long. I said I would not go long until this weekly EBP candle's low got hit, and then I would need to see some sort of confirmation. So what happens? Again, EBP candle, beautiful sell-off going into the candle bar's low. And again, there's one EBP here. There's one EBP there. This was technically an EBP candle there. So I'm telling you guys, like this works on every single asset class. Now this is the weekly time frame. You guys can go ahead and experiment with it on the daily, on the 4 hour, etc. But I'm telling you guys, this system works. Mind you, I got it from someone who's a profitable trader who works for like if you guys don't get know, I've always given credit to Tom Dante. He trades it a little bit differently because he requires the candle bars low to get closed. So he would not consider this an EBP candle because he would need like let me find an example. For him to consider an EBP candle, it has to close below the prior bar low. So it has to do this and then close over here. So kind of very similar to ES weekly time frame. Well, actually, no, not even. So he wouldn't consider this a weekly EBP. He would consider this one an EBP candle because it closed below the prior bar low. For me, I don't require that. It just has to be above the opening price. I just found that there's more opportunities that way. Can we trade gold live? Yeah, the thing is this with gold, like it's not, I told you, like for me, I would have to see a 4 hour fair value gap per my rules. If I see a daily EBP, I need to see at least a 4 hour fair value gap, and then I'm going to look for that opportunity. It probably won't set up today. So this is what I'm watching for going into like the daily close, and then I'll probably watch it going into Asia. I'll probably have to update this one in real time inside the Telegram. But again, like, cause again, this could easily just flip bearish, right? Like that's why I need the closure. But right now it's looking good. But there's still 7.5 hours to the day. Now again, if it rips higher without me, that's fine. Like I'm not gonna cry about it. But the prior week's high is definitely my target, 43.88, and then possibly the rejection blocks around here that I talked about. But again, the requirement is that this closes as an EBP candle. Okay. And then yeah, just indices off the open is pretty much just consolidating. That's what I mean. Like when price is in between two key levels, right? Like we took a liquidity pool here. We're inside this fair value gap in this overall order block. The market can just chop in these areas. And that's why I typically avoid the marketplace when we're in between two key significant points. Now, if you look, let's just say that you saw this 1 hour ABP and there's this fair value gap here, you possibly could have traded this if this fair value gap did not get traded into. So like, well, it did over here, but let's just say someone took this short, like on the 5 minute time frame. Or let's say you see this 15-minute EBP, then you see this 1 hour fair value gap that has not been traded, right? This is a scalp model that you can actually do. Like, okay, reversal profile, right? There's a fair value gap on the 1 hour time frame. We took out liquidity on the 15-minute. We formed a nice 15-minute EBP. Then from there, you can go down to the 5 minute or the 1 minute and see, is there any gap that you can trade, right? What do we have here? We have a nice fair value gap. This was the 1 hour fair value gap here. We have the 1 minute fair value gap inside the 15-minute bearish EBP, right? Guess what? This could be a scalping model. And then, yep, then right there. This right here is a scalping model. Like I'm telling you guys, you could use EBP in so many different ways. The ways I talk about it on YouTube is the simplest way, but there's so many creative ways you can go about it. Yeah, Joshua. So I just talked about gold. Yeah, as long as we close as an ABP, this candle bar's high is going to be my target, which is last week's high. Now, sometimes most people are going to try to short stuff like this, right? Because they see this. I'm not a fan of that, to be honest, because I know some people they'll scalp this, like maybe move lower. I just don't think it's like smart because sometimes if the market is extremely bullish, like gold has been on the weekly time frame, right? Like, do I really want to get in the way of this? No, personally, I don't. That's why usually I just wait for the buy setup. Okay, on the 4 hour. Let's see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we end up just kind of fading off here. And that's another thing too. Like I could see something like this, and then what happens is, let's just say this candle bar closes in 20 minutes on the 4 hour, right? Let's say the market is going to create this fair value gap. If the market comes up in here, rallies, we maintain this swing high, and then we break back down, guess what? And then there's a fair value gap here on like a 1 hour time frame. This could then, I could be more interested in a sell right now. But right now, the market is in between some level of support and a level of resistance, right? We're above the Asia range high. We also took out the prior day lows, the weekly lows, and we're inside of that daily fair value gap. So this swing low to swing high, right? Right now, we're kind of in that 50% mark where the market could find support. But we also, do I want to buy this? No, because we have a 1 hour EBP that took out liquidity. Think of it like this. Let me know actually in the comment section. Are you guys familiar with low resistance liquidity run signatures and high resistance liquidity run? It's a very basic like concept. If you so Davud, right? If you for the EBP on the 4 hour time frame, it's very simple. Like you know what time every 4 hour candle will close. I actually have a video on this on my YouTube channel. I don't know if you watched it, but I talk about like that exact thing. Every 4 hour bar, let's just use futures timing, is gonna form at 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right? Look at the time window down here. 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, right? And then 2 p.m. So like you also get one in the PM session. If you know what time these candles are gonna open, so what you can do is just look at the 4 hour time frame and then look to see, hey, is there going to be an opportunity there? Now, me personally, I like to watch multiple different asset classes because of this, because I want to find the best possible opportunities. Because some weeks you're not going to get clean opportunities. Some weeks you will, some weeks you won't on specific asset classes. So when I watch gold, when I watch NQ, the euro, the dollar yen, etc., that's going to be something that I'm going to be able to. My bad, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. Yeah. But yeah, so what I was saying, forgot. Oh yeah, so like if this fair value gap were to form and then the market tries down into it and then we have a failed push and then we break back below, then that's something I'll be interested in. But you see how like it's gonna take some time to form. That's why usually if I don't see a setup as soon as I walk into the charts, I usually just wait for the next 1 hour candle or the next 4 hour bar. That is, I guarantee you, implementing that alone will 100% improve your win rate. And I guarantee it'll also help you stop over trading. Let's see the 4 hour time frame here. And the 1 hour. Where's that thing? Okay. This is a good question. If you have multiple fair value gaps within a range, which one do you target? This one's actually a really good question. Now, I'll be honest. I personally prefer impulse ranges that only have one fair value gap. Look at this dollar yen, right? I like when the market only has one fair value gap because to me it makes it so much easier to just trade that, right? But if you're in a situation where you have two fair value gaps, this is the honest answer. You're going to have to kind of assess how aggressive the market is. And now this is why I don't like saying this, is because this is ultimately going to depend on subjective factors, meaning if you see that the market has very deep aggression, like the market is like there's a lot of momentum, you're typically going to want to get in on the I'll show you an example of like what I did yesterday. For example, right, if the market is super aggressive, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find a fair value gap that gets traded into on the low end. So for example, so the short that I took yesterday, I'm going to post a video. I took a 5 minute fair value gap here. Stop loss at candle bar 2. So we have candle bar 1, candle bar 2, and candle bar 3 that creates the fair value gap. I got in right here, but there's no other fair value gap in this range. But the key is this: you want to enter before liquidity pool gets swept. Because we still had Asia range low and we had the prior week low, which was the EBP candles target. I was able to get in here because again, the market did not hit those liquidity pools. You always want to enter before a liquidity pool or key level gets hit. That's, if you guys have been following me for any length of time, that is super essential. Now, let's just go, okay, a 15-minute time frame, right? If you see multiple fair value gaps in this overall range, right? 1, 2, 3, right? Number one, I would typically say this. You want to at least get in if there's at least inside the 50%, right? That's number one. So you draw the fib from swing high to swing low. You put the settings tab. And then let me just have a template for this. So just in case you guys want to copy it, it's 0.51, right? Just makes it super easy. You want to enter on the fair value gap that's at least, at the very least, above the 50% mark from the swing. Like this one, I wouldn't take, it's too risky. Also, because this one right here, we've already taken liquidity. So sometimes, like you definitely do not want to trade this one on the bottom of the 50% because we already took out liquidity. So sometimes the market is going to have a deeper pullback. Number two, if you see these two fair value gaps, which one are you going to choose? Now, this one obviously is pretty high up there. I would do this. If I see a fair value gap like this above the 50%, which one do you choose? If you look to the left and there's like, let's just say a breaker. A breaker is essentially like when you have a swing high, swing low, higher high, and then lower low, right? Think of it like this type of structure. High, low, whoops, right? Market makes a higher high, and then we break down. This whole range from this point to this point is going to be like a supply zone, right? So when I have a fair value gap that's met with like an area of consolidation, if you go to the 1 hour, it'll probably be a little bit more clear, right? This prior consolidation point from the high point down to here, let's just mark out that full range, right? If you have a confluence of that, then yeah, you could just look to sell. Now again, because this range is so wide, where is your stop loss going to be if you just want to sell the thing? It's going to be very difficult. At that point, you would probably have to kind of enter on a confirmation because this is very difficult. Like your stop loss is going to be fairly wide. Like think about it, right? If you enter on something like this, am I going to put my stop loss above this candle bar high, right? Candle bar 2. So candle 1, 2, and 3 of this fair value gap. 1, 2, 3. I usually put my stop loss above candle 2, but do I want to put my stop loss there? Because what if the market just has a bigger push up into here? So usually when I see something like this, that's when I'll probably have to have some sort of confirmation entry. But yeah. Also, guys, so I know some of you guys have asked me, whoops. Yeah, my bad, guys. Just looking at something real quick. Yeah, so see, now this is why I would not look for that continuation short that I was talking about, because now also, let me see on the 4 hour time frame. Well, the 4 hour time frame still hasn't closed yet. So we'll see. I just don't like trading in between two ranges. When the market has liquidity pool that was taken and the market is at support, think about it like this, right? If you are in a situation, if you're in a situation where the marketplace has a resistance and then we have a support, right? Think of it like in this context. You're going to essentially have the market bouncing from support to resistance to support, back in the range. When you're in this is where I used to, again, most traders are they're very similar. I used to get smoked in this type of market environment. Like if this 1 hour EBP forms, would I take this? No, because we're already above the Asia range. And if you look at the 4 hour time frame, we're inside of this bearish leg. So me shorting or like going long at this fair value, at this 1 hour EBP, for example, if it forms in 10 minutes, would I take this? No. Even if it goes higher, I don't care. Because I've been in so many situations where this happened and then the market ends up stuffing my entry, or it just kind of completely reverse, or it stays in consolidation. I want to find a situation like this where I have a clear resistance, I have a clear support level that has not been traded to yet, which is the prior week low, and then I want to trade that move down. Versus like right here, if I try to go long, the problem is we already took out the Asia range high. Now, could it go a little bit higher? Of course it can, but that's not my type of play. Project X gone down again. I don't know. I'm not trading. I already made my profits for the day. So I'm personally not gonna. Well, I don't know. Maybe again, maybe I'll see what we set up in the PM session, but it's because I have to be out. I have to go pick up something 11 o'clock. But yeah, guys, a lot of you guys have been asking me, right? Because you guys want to trade all these different assets like NQ, ES, gold, euro, dollar, yen, and obviously with futures props, like you can't really do that. Like you can't. I mean, you could trade dollar yen, like, but you'd have to do 6J, which is like the futures equivalents, but it's going to be in the reverse side of it. So you can trade 6J if you want on the future side. Because a lot of people have been asking me, like, oh, I can't trade dollar yen on futures, but it's not as clean. Like the candles look weird, you know. So if you guys want to trade like some with the like, let's say if you're trading your personal funds, and this is the broker that I'm personally using, that way I can trade like EU, gold. I can trade ES and Q outside of my futures props. I'm gonna put it the broker that I'm using because I've gotten a lot of DMs on this. I'll also just put it in the description as well. And for futures props, if you guys want, you can also use like I'm experimenting. I like TopStep. Again, they don't have an affiliate program. It's just my personal like prerogative. But like Thomas was saying, they do have issues with their platform where it freezes from time to time, which is a pain in the ass. I actually that happened to me when I was trading with them as well. But I still like TopStep. If you guys want like a futures firm that doesn't have consistency rule in the funded, they all have consistency rule, whether it's the evaluation or whether it's in the funded. Me personally, I prefer the consistency in the evaluation. So when I get to the funded, I can just trade normally. Fundednext has a good program. The legacy account is pretty good. Um, my funded futures also has a good one. I have to do a price analysis to see which ones are cheaper, but they're all pretty much the same challenges. Bro, you still trading with Forex prop firms? Yeah, Umber. Only Alpha Capital. With funding pips, it's just, bro, their spread and their slippage has been way too high, man. And it doesn't make sense anymore either. Let me go back to NQ and ES. It doesn't make sense anymore, honestly, when it comes to trading futures props. I mean, I'm sorry, CFD props. At least Alpha Capital has their spreads are pretty good, man. Alpha Capital spreads are good. FTMO, like they came back in the US, but they reduced the leverage so much. And now they're reducing everyone to 1% risk. So if you're risking more than 1% on the evaluation for any firm, not just FTMO, they are going to start banning you. I'm sorry, not banning you. They're going to start restricting you to 1% risk per trade. And some of them have 1% per risk per trade for every 1 hour. So if you hit, let's say, minus $800 for the session, that's it. You're cooked. Like you can't trade for the next hour. Bro, for like the amount of money that you'd be paying for a 100K challenge, like I usually do the 100K challenge. FTMO is also pretty expensive. Like they're $600. They're by far the most expensive. For $600, I can buy like 5 evals on futures props and make the same money if the future, because now again, the CFD props, if I can only risk 1%, I can risk maximum $1,000. Mind you, you have to reduce less because of slippage and commissions. So because again, they factor all that into it. So you realistically you have to risk $700. So if I'm paying $600 to risk $700 per trade for a two-step eval, 8% phase one, and FTMO is 10%, and then 5% phase two, and then 14 days to first payout, it doesn't make sense anymore. It really doesn't, man. That's why I urge you guys. Like I know, like I was very hesitant to get into the futures prop space because obviously of comfortability, but in my opinion, it's well worth the transition. Will the market structure video cover how to market swing points? Yes. It's going to be a full market structure video on liquidity as well. Because everyone thinks market structure swing highs and swing lows, but you have to also understand. I talked about this on Twitter. I'll talk about it here. Most people think market structure is like this, right? Swing highs, swing lows, and it is, don't get me wrong. But at some point, this is going to get disrupted and then this is going to happen. Because at some point, the market is going to want to take out stops. There's going to be an injection of liquidity before the market heads lower or continues this trend. So in that video, I want to cover everything. The basics of market structure, understanding liquidity pools, understanding rejection blocks, how to take profits, where to not continue like selling short, because most people will wonder, oh, when do I go ahead and like Because some people will continue just shorting the trend, right? When do you not continue the shorts on the trend or longs on trend? When it becomes more risky, everything will be, this is going to be a one size fits all about market structure. That video will probably be like a little bit of a longer video, but if you guys are going to like follow along with the way that I personally trade, it's necessary you guys understand how I view market structure. Futures is the best by far, man. I wish I wasn't as stubborn. I think if you're gonna trade with CFD props, I would get like a couple of them, no doubt. But again, for the amount of money that you're paying, you're better off using futures. I'll make a whole video on this for you guys because again, I'm still learning. I don't want to make the video now because I'm still trying to see which futures props are best. I obviously want to get my payout with Top Step first, and then I'll start to make videos. I think if you're gonna trade with CFDs, you're better off, in my personal opinion. If you're gonna put $500 into a challenge, you're either gonna put it in futures. In my personal opinion, I think that's better, or you're better off just funding your own account because to pass a CFD prop, bro, it's gonna even if you nowadays because again you can't full port them anymore because if you full port, they're gonna restrict your account. Mind you, you don't like even if you're just risking 2% per trade on the evaluation, you're gonna get automatically audited. It's happened to me. Like I'm speaking from experience. You know, I don't want to talk bad about any firm, but like that's just the reality of the situation nowadays. And then they also increase the spreads. The spreads are disgusting on some of these firms, man. Like as soon as you enter the position, you're down like you're down a few percentage points. Like I'll risk $700 on a trade. I enter a position, I'm down $200. So now, so imagine trying to trade like that with a 1% risk limit. It's ridiculous, man. So it's not worth it. So if you want to trade with like let's just say CFDs because you want to trade euro, dollar yen, Aussie yen, all these different things, and still want to trade NQ and gold, I would just recommend either funding your own account or yeah, because I'm telling you guys, for the money, like I gotta show you guys the price analysis. It doesn't make sense anymore, and that's why you guys see me like trading personal and now also just transitioning more to futures props. Um, how do you manage impulsiveness after losing 2 or 3 times in a session? I'll be honest with you guys. Oh, my bad. Let me just got an email. Okay. How do I handle impulsiveness? I'll be honest. It just comes with experience. Like I know that's not the answer someone wants to like listen to, but this is the thing. Um, Number one, I think trading 3 times in a session, taking 3 trades is fairly aggressive. That's number one. So maybe lower the frequency and focus more on higher quality. I think most times when I see traders, because again, I've coached like thousands of traders at this point, and I've been around the game for a while. What happens? How do most people get caught up in taking too many trades? Number one, they're on too lower of a time frame. If you go on a 1 minute time frame, you will find every reason to enter trades. Like straight up. Because you'll see, oh my God, like this was a sweep. I'm going to take this fair value gap. And then, oh my God, this was a sweep. High, low. I'm going to trade this retracement lower. Like we've all been there, right? And then what happens is you're taking like 20 trades inside of this range and the market just consolidating. Now, some people can do it profitably, but I've noticed most people can't. It's just too difficult. So number one, I would lower the frequency of the trades. And number two, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just experience because I tell myself all the time, like, if I give up, like, okay, for example, I'm going to put this in my Telegram later, or I'll probably put it in the description here. There's this really good interview by a market wizard named Tom Bezos. I think that's his name, Tom, if I'm pronouncing it correct. And he's like known as Mr. Serenity. And bro, very, very great interview. And he talks about what happens is most traders, they rush or they allow the market to dictate their lives. The problem is if you're trying to trade full time and you don't have anything else going on, like let's say if you don't have a career or you don't have a business or you don't have any other like thing that you're pursuing outside of the markets, you're so ingrained into the market and your performance that you're allowing one day of trading to like, like, oh my God, if I lose money today, I'm going to be like you're in this like rut. And again, I've been there. I'm not judging anyone because I've been there. And don't get me wrong, even till this day, losing sucks, man. Like we don't like to lose money on a day. We don't like the feeling of having a loss, right? Of course not. It's not nice. But let me ask you this question. Let me just, for preference 9912, right? Let me ask you this question. Do you remember the loss you took 2 weeks ago that set you up on tilt? Or the trade last month that you were on tilt? Probably not, right? Like I don't remember like when the last trade that I lost where like I was on tilt. And it's because it's insignificant now. But the problem is in the moment, you're so focused on like, wow, this is going to like make me like you personalize the loss as if the loss is going to like have some sort of detriment to your well-being. And that's just not the case. Okay, let me see something. These candles stopped printing. Am I bugging? Because the next 10 o'clock, unless the market like yeah, so maybe let me refresh this. Yeah, sorry guys, just because I was waiting for that next candle to open, and then for some reason it didn't. Okay, now it did. Yep, just had to refresh it. Oh yeah, let me do the contract adjustment. Like if I'm looking at this, like this is probably going to be the DOL, but it's probably like very, very close. If you go down to the 15-minute inside this gap, there's well, it didn't create the fair value gap just yet. There's nothing on really the M5 in terms of a fair value gap. Let's see the 30-minute, no fair value gap yet. But near term, it probably just goes up here. Like if I'm going like on scalping model, because this 4-hour bar inversed this gap. So now this is like a strong distribution candle. But again, like the DOL is right there. So like, is there any point to like take a trade? For me personally, no. But I'm just watching it more as a study. But yeah, to answer your question, so like again, at the end of the day, like everyone personalizes a trading loss because it feels like it's threatening. Like you feel threatened, if that makes sense. And then because you personalize it, like, wow, because I lost today, I'm a loser, or oh my God, the trading's never gonna work for me. And what happens is we internalize one losing day as something way more significant than it really is, which then leads us to want to get back. In order for us not to have this shame, we want to get back into the marketplace in order to make back the loss. Because when we make back the loss, we're gonna feel better about ourselves. And it's very difficult to kind of get past that. Let me see gold. Yeah, again, as I talked about, like gold, I'm pretty bullish on. Again, I'm not gonna trade gold today. I'm just waiting for this candle to close first. Then we'll see what happens. Do you recommend Dante's EFL? He's doing one again upcoming year. Yeah, I'll say this. Like the thing is with his EFLs, they're definitely I would definitely recommend it because again, he's someone that I've learned from and he has very good quality. But I will say this because most people they go into that type of stuff and they automatically assume it's gonna be like signals or something like that. If you're going in there to learn, to be honest, then yeah. But if someone's going in there to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? To kind of like, oh yeah, like he's gonna give us signals or something like that, then I think it's not the best approach in my opinion. The thing is this, if you want to learn though, because I've been part of his EFLs before, right? If you want to learn, you could just buy his the webinars that he has on his website. They're like $15. I don't know. I think there's still the same price, or you could buy a full module. It's like 150 pounds. So yeah. It'll be interesting to see if we have any reaction and then this 1-hour EBP puts us back up into this 4-hour gap. ES looks like a lot weaker though. That's NQ, right? Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, of course, man. Again, I told you guys I want like earlier in the year, I was like super busy. Middle of the year, I've been super busy. But now, like my schedule going into the new year, God willing, is like freed up now. You know, I still have other things that I have going on inside, but it's a lot more structured. Which allows me now, I'm back into like trading every single day. You know, it's very difficult like last couple months to like, trade consistently because again, I was very busy every morning. Now, like my time is freed up and I plan on doing these live streams a lot more frequent. And as you guys have seen, even on the YouTube channel, like it's gonna be a lot more frequent. Telegram's gonna be a lot more frequent. So I'm excited, man, going into 2026. Okay. I'm probably gonna hop off, guys, in about like 5 minutes because I have to get ready to head out soon. I have to go and make a shipment. But yeah. Yeah, if this gold, I know a lot of you guys have been asking me about gold. If this one just rips without me, man, I've told you guys earlier in the session, there's nothing I can do about it, right? Like for me, my setup, right? Again, my setup is I have to wait for this daily EBP candle. To be fair, I don't even see a setup anyways, like a bullish setup, even on the 1 hour time frame and the 4 hour. I don't see anything just yet. Like I don't want to buy here, even if this rips higher. I don't see anything here to suggest a buy setup. So we'll see. But if this closes daily EBP, this is by far going to be like, this is all I'm going to be focusing on going into tomorrow because it has everything I look for in a daily EBP or just an EBP candle, right? This could have been also a 4 hour time frame. This could be a 1 hour time frame. I just know that the prior week high is probably going to get hit. So I want to position myself inside this EBP candle if it forms. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do a video on futures props. I just want to be more acclimated before I make a video, right? Because I just started learning about futures props like probably like about 3 weeks ago, 2.5, 3 weeks ago. And I'm trying to find like the really good ones. Fundednext futures, I think, has the best one. They did have issues recently I saw on Twitter where they would move people to live prematurely. But now they've actually added something that I think is every firm should add, where you can get up to a max 100K payouts in total, and then they'll either move you to live or you essentially like get the boot. I much rather that firms do that, to be honest. Like, let me make my 100K, and then if you want to kick me out of the platform, by all means. But what I don't like is when they move you to like live. So moving you to live, if you guys are from the CFD space, it's a way that they essentially lower their payout. Now, what do I mean by how do they lower the payouts, right? By lowering the payouts, they essentially, like, let's say you made like 50K across like 5 accounts and you're up $50,000 total. Sometimes they'll just move you into a live account. And to me, that's kind of like, yeah, it's like then it's kind of like a disservice to the trader who's like spent the time making those profits. So I will make a video on futures props. I'll probably post it on this channel. Just make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels because each channel is gonna have its own separate thing. And like so, you look at this. The 1 hour EBP. I talked about the 4 hour close. We marked out this inversion, and this is like a little bit of a scalp play. That someone could just play this bounce up to this potential fair value gap up into new highs. If we go down to the 30-minute, there was no real fair value gap though on the 15-minute and the 5-minute that formed. There was one here on the 1 minute, but I don't even think it tapped that. But it tapped essentially the top end of the inversion. And look at that, beautiful little bit of a scalp. Again, I don't like to trade these type of scalps, but I'm trying to show you guys how you can like position a specific model. Also, we talked about this 4 hour bar closing above the prior bar, above the prior bar high, creating this inversion. So when the market comes in and retests inside of this overall, you could even just draw the fib range of the EBP candle. Didn't even get to the 50% mark. So yeah. But this is something, again, like if you're a scalper, you can just look to buy some sort of dip buy, maybe put a stop loss here, go for a quick 1-to-1, 1.5-to-1. Do you use ATR in your trading? No, but it's a good metric for sure. I personally don't use it just because I don't know. I've used it before. I feel like sometimes it confuses me a little bit for my own trading. Yeah, but I'm really hoping this gold doesn't take out the highs. Well, we'll see. All right, but yeah, guys. Last question here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and because it's already getting. I have to get out of here by 10:30, so to go get dressed and get ready. Would you be able to trade recaps for the trades you take? It would be very helpful. Yeah, I got you. So I actually recorded the NQ trade that I took yesterday. On the 5-minute time frame, there's a setup in here that I took down to the Asia range lows, and that one will be up this afternoon. Probably a little bit late because I'm going to be out pretty much all afternoon, and then I'll probably come back around like 2 p.m. Eastern time and be able to kind of make make that recap. All the recaps, I think I'll just put it on this channel. I'm not going to put anything on the other channel is going to be just strictly education and possibly like some psychology videos. This channel is going to be primarily for live trade recaps. It's going to be, it's going to be for live trades, live streams, and then trade recaps. So if I can't record the trade in real time, I'll just talk about a trade that I took. And that will all be on this channel. And then again, the other channel is going to be strictly just the education stuff. All right. But yeah, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. Just as a reminder, again, this is gonna be my main play, my main focus going into tomorrow. If we can close this daily EBP, it'll suck if it rips above the highs. If we rip above the highs, then there's nothing I can do about that. Hopefully we maintain and we just create this 4-hour fair value gap. This candle closes in like another 4 hours. So I'll check the charts around 2 o'clock. And then this might set up in Asia session tonight or going into the new tomorrow. So yeah, this is really the main thing I'm watching for because this has a higher time frame bias, potentially 4-hour level, and then we're going to see if this sets up as an intraday basis. Just be mindful, NQ, ES, we're just kind of trading inside of a range. So yeah, this actually just might chop. Even if we come up in here, it's just possibly going to chop throughout the day. So just be a little bit mindful of this one. Appreciate it, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So we'll do another live stream tomorrow as well. Peace.